now that we're done talking about all the big picture stuff, I wanted to really jump into the actual changes that have happened over the last couple of months because there have been a lot. Um, Not only for, say, post processing shading, specific socketing, scanner items. I mean, there's a whole bunch. So let me just get into it, and we'll take it step by step. So first off, let's start off with some basic stuff. So for when it comes to interactable objects for climbing, I changed the shader. I still need to add. I'm liking how it's looking, but I still need to add some effect to make the outline better. But for right now, for just testing, I'm really liking that if it's a climbable object, that's not this red cube, that's still going to be. I need to do a different shader for that, so it does the occlusion of whatever edge is going to be. But if it's just a regular mesh like this, I like having the subtle outline, so that way I can just have it be whatever, and it goes away from a certain distance. So from a certain point of view, it's not distracting. But if you need to identify, oh, that's climbable, I can get up here this way now. That's the whole point behind that. Interaction math is still the same. After looking over some more tutorials and videos, what I realized what I need to do is I need to have a physics constraint between a proxy of the mesh. So for example, instead of just picking up the direct object, I need to have some kind of mesh actor or just any kind of object here that whenever I pick up an object, that's relative to where the controller is in real world space, and then the mesh here in my hand is in game space. And what that allows then is going to be for, say, I have something that's a heavy object, right? If I want to pick it up and have it feel heavy, my controllers can be up here. But because of the weight and the connection of the constraint, the actual hands would be down here, thus making it feel heavy. So that's probably not going to be done by the time that the demo is out. That's going to be a lot of me going back and reiterating on the original hand math. But it is something that is going to be done when it comes to making more progress in game final launch. That's going to also help in a lot of cases when it comes to, say, object mechanics. So say I pick up, or weapon mechanics, sorry. Say I pick up a spear or blaster, instead of being all jittery and shaky and picking up all the micro movements, because the weight will have a physical aspect into how the object is held, it should level it out and not be jittery. So, since last time, I forget if I had these crates in here the last time. I feel like I did, but I've been adding more to them, so that way they actually have extra testing capability for combat. Now, when it comes to getting in extra combat for melee mechanics, I'm going to have to actually be redoing it with that physics hand math later on. But for right now, what I'm doing is I have a pretty simple math setup. So if I'm hitting a certain speed with my hands when they're in fist, I'm able to activate a damage hit for whatever the object is. And that works both with my fist, with weapons like so. Oh, not that. I accidentally picked up scanner. Able to whack this like so. And then again, once I get in that hand math for the actual physics, with the physics constraint, actually hitting it and having that weight is going to feel so much better. But for now, this still gets the job done. Like, I feel like I'm whacking and destroying these crates. You can also do it with any weapon. So you could do it with your fist. You could do it with melee weapons. Like for now, I just have the test spear. I'm also planning on adding a knife and like a electric baton is probably the best way to call it. But even with blasters, you should be able to pistol whip. And actually, let me go to a new crate. Able to pistol whip it and still do damage. So, on top of this, now that I have the blaster out, you'll probably notice that there are some changes from the last time as well. So, first off, the actual texture for the shading for identifying how much charge is left on the blaster has changed, so that way it actually works. At the same time, I set it up so that way the chargers are now on the chest, and there's now sockets on both your wrists. The main reason for this was for speed and accessibility. What I realized was with the charger originally being down here, or at least it was in concept, it led to the player having to lose line of sight from whatever they're shooting at, right? So if I had to change out, I'd have to go down here and then deal with this and then be ready to go. I didn't like that. I wanted that to be more versatile, be more maneuverable. So I wanted it to be a system to where I could easily go in and out, grab, boom, boom. And just it's much more quick with it being on the chest. At the same time, the batteries are set up now so that way when they're still set up how they were before, to where if it's an object like on a table, if it's just free, it will automatically snap into it. But that also works with the sockets for the charger and for your wrist. So what that means is if I have sockets on my wrist filled up and I need to do a hot swap, I can just do it just like that. So that just makes things a lot easier and accessible for the player, to make reloading faster, and not having to worry about having to do too much literal hand holding to swap in and out certain magazines, right? Because again, you only have two hands. You don't want to be having to fumble around and, okay, now I gotta grab that battery. Okay, that means I have to put this down. Let me grab this and then put that in there. That's just a lot of extra steps. So I figured doing it that way, where it's able to do it with the sockets, helps out so much more. So that's also implemented as well. What else have I added? Oh, also the scanner. So the idea of the game is that you're gonna be able to go around levels and try to find collectibles and so on. So right now, I'm still trying to get the shaders to work with this. Pretty much the setup is that it's a camera that's set up vertically, and these objects here are set up to, or it creates a texture on the scanner here, and then depending on whatever the object is, if I say it's collectible, it'll then show up. Now, future features are going to be added to this. One is going to be visibility. So I'm planning probably on having a decal spawned in from whatever a collectible object is and put above it, but only visible by the camera that's up there. So what I'll do is, instead of it being just like a big square, or like that little tiny square, just very tiny pixel there, it's going to be more identifiable, to where there's going to be a red dot, yellow dot, green dot, depending on whatever the object is. For example, say there's an enemy, and you look on your scanner, you'd be able to tell, okay, there's an enemy around the corner. Or if there's a collectible, okay, it's this way. As well as, I want to add a verticality scale to this. So for example, once I get that decal put in there properly, I want it to be set up so that way when I am above something, there'll be an arrow that's pointing down, so I'll know that the collectible is down, or that an enemy is down. Stuff like that. At the same time, when it comes to collectibles, I have this knob up here. I'm also gotta play around the positioning of this, because it's not attached to a socket or anything still. Haven't done anything with that yet. But what I'm going to have it do is shoot out a ray, so that way you can then do a scan function and physically scan collectibles. But yeah, so that's the idea with that, and it just snaps back right there. I'm also planning on having a tether come back to the belt, but first I want to get the main character done, and then be able to do extra details like that. What else have I done since then? I've also added a menu for the character here. It's able to go to your settings, and there's settings in here, which I'll get into in a second. I literally just did this over the last, yesterday. And the day before is actually getting the settings menu set up and working. For some reason, I can't interact with anything on this. I don't know why. It works. Obviously it works with the pause menu. I'm able to get to this menu. So I gotta figure out what's going on with that. But again, like I said, I just started working on that yesterday, so that's not going to be a big deal. Actually, in the meantime, I think that's pretty much it for interactables and stuff here. So again, future plans, adding a physics connection and proxy for making things feel like they have weight. Added the scanner. I need to do updates to the scanner to make it feel more natural. Updated weapons, so that way, the actual counting math works and the shader works for the glow. So players are able to identify how many shots that they have left. Chargers both work, and there's the whole socketing system. Let's go into the main menu here and see what I've also added with that. So I added a whole new main menu. So with this, the idea is, ooh, that's a little bit glitchy. I shouldn't have done that. There we go. So the idea here is that you'd actually spawn in facing this way. I still need to fix that. But you spawn in facing this way, and then you instantly start off seeing your settings, right? So you can able to see whatever your settings are and set them to whatever they're supposed to be. again, because this game has dynamic height control and a bunch of different features like that, I wanted to make sure that the player had options to make sure that they're comfortable. So when it comes to the dynamic height, I have pretty much what I've been doing is having it auto set the height to wherever your HMD is in room scale, right? So if I stand like straight up, right, that's going to get me to like my proper height. Yes, I'm short. Don't worry about it. At the same time, if you want to make micro adjustments, you can adjust this yourself by going up and down a certain number of units. So you're able to fix that to whatever you need. Sometimes also I feel like I don't know what it is. I feel like room scale is actually off by a couple inches. I'm actually like 167 to 169, something like that. I'm like 5'7", so I still gotta figure out how exactly to get room scale to be proper. So like actually to the centimeter. But for right now, for a general scale, I mean this feels pretty good. I also made it so that way you're able to choose whatever your dominant hand is. So, oh, that's right. I didn't fix that. That button's hiding right now, but it does flip the character. I will fix that. It does work. One of the big problems that came with that, actually, I think that's why I disabled it. Was whenever you do a flip, well, pretty much what I'm doing is I'm inverting the scale by -1 in this axis, right? But what that also does is that says, if there's any normals going this way on a static mesh, they're now going this way. So inverting the normals, which means you're then seeing the inside, which means you then need to reverse the culling on whatever that object is. So the last thing I was doing with that specifically was trying to figure out how to reverse the culling in an efficient way. So that's why that's disabled, but it does work. And pretty much what that does as well is whenever you say you're righty, because most people are, it would also swap the sockets so that, or your holsters, that way everything's proper and feeling right for you. Because like, for example, because I'm lefty, I'd be drawing, if I was to draw my pistol from the hip, it'd be like that, you know? But if you're righty, you're obviously going to be doing it the other way. Sitting and standing technically works. Like I have the button that works. But the problem is I need to actually go in and still do the math that disables room scale. So pretty much just to say, hey, if you are doing a standing, take room scale for what it is. If you're playing in sitting, you still might have room scale mapped, but only take in the dynamic height with the joystick. Also put in direction of, technically it's going to be your input vector, so I certainly do HMD, but you can also do offhand, so that works properly. I'm going forward here. Left, right, forward, back, yada yada. I can also add in dominant hand, but I wanted to see if I can get offhand to work properly. At the same time, I have set up variables now within my player controller, identifying there was already ones native that identified your left hand and your right hand, but now I also have situationals that say or situational states that say, hey, this is the dominant hand, this is the non-dominant hand. Again, based off of this control. Anywho, the last thing here is going to be our rotation angle, which right now is set to 90 degrees. If you want to get more precise, you can also do 45s or continuous. And continuous also has the option of kind of like you're able to control your speed depending on what pitch your joystick is left and right. But yeah, so have all these rotation options back here. Last thing here for the menus in the main menu is going to be our actual startup menu screen. So for the demo, it's going to be, as I said before, is going to be the campaign, co-op, and the testing room. And then when it comes to the actual first launch of the game, it's going to be the campaign, co-op, and multiplayer. But for right now, it's going to be this. All these buttons work. As you can see in the top left, there's going to be the call command for the each room. I just haven't plugged them in yet. The test room is a room that we were in before, so I'm going to be including that as well, so that way people can get a feel and idea of the mechanics and get more comfortable with it instead of just jumping into the first level. And then over here, this is probably not going to be in the demo, but I'm still just keeping this here because, again, as you go throughout the game, you're going to be getting collectibles. So this collections room is going to take you to that and have that in play. Now, this ship in general is going to be the protagonist ship in the game. So There's still a lot of things I need to model. Like I need to model the entire dash, or like buttons and switches and stuff like that. But considering that's going to be seen probably a lot in cinematics, I want to spend more time and dedicate it properly. But I wanted this ship to feel personal, small, something that can be kind of lived in. I still need to add like textures and add more objects and make it feel more lived in. But all in all, I'm really liking the way that it's coming out. Just do some lifting or pull ups in space. Yada yada. But it's adding features like this, like pickable items like underneath the bed. To even one thing I always like in Star Wars is how you're always able to see like these tech panels, but then like the panels are off or on. But you've never really been able to like interact with those panels before. So like even these panels I made be picked up and be able to be like removed or like tossed around if you wanted to. So stuff like that. And then there's going to be more tools over here once this is set up. These are just some basic tools I have set up for now. I'm probably going to be adding like extra details like drawers and stuff here, so this isn't just like a chunk. And probably add like a little like lamp over here, so it feels like a workbench. But yeah, all in all, I'm really liking how this is coming out. Has like a space homey feel to it. And yeah. So the last thing I want to say is the actual setup for the first layout level. And the reason I'm going to show that is because for the demo, it's going to be changing a lot as compared to the actual first launch, right? Like it's a lot of these assets you'll see here in a second. These are not going to be final assets. I do like the feel of it, and that's going to be the goal of the demo, is people get an understanding and comprehensive feel of the style and how it's going to be in the game. But for now, it's really just getting an idea of how do I want the general layout to be, how do I want the feel to be, and how do I want the player to move around in general. So what I like about this is I was able to get set up some basic assets I pulled in or that I modeled like forever ago for the original concepts I had, and I was able to make them feel pretty nice. And I made these trees in here to watch some tutorials on how to do stuff like that, make them look more proper. I'm really liking the leaf textures here, and especially with the waviness, just using the simple wind to make that look like it's moving like that. And that's also applied to the grass as well. As I've been modeling and doing some more texturing, I am realizing that I feel like I want to have a more high detail bake look. So what I mean, like this ground texture, for example. So there's like these were 3D models that I then made into a texture and then used that to make the ground texture. I feel like I want to have more of a look like that alongside this like smooth beveled geometry look to have it feel more cartoony, more stylized, and fit more into place. Now, that's not to say there's not going to be geometry like this for rocks and stuff like that. I feel like this is also very fitting. But these are just stylized concepts and aspects I'm keeping in mind while also building out these levels. So the concept with this area here is that there's going to be an intro cinematic of like your ship landing, and you then start off here and then have this whole area to play around with. This area is probably going to be bigger when it comes to the final game, but the idea is it's supposed to get the player comfortable with moving around, the dynamic height system, climbing here, because you'll have to like climb or do like a really high jump to get up there, being able to break things, and here is going to be the dynamic height system and understanding where you're able to stand and squat. Continuing on, we get into this area where the whole idea is you have to find this pirate camp, and then there's a loop. Again, I'm not trying to give away too much here, and this is all most likely going to be changing like a lot. But the idea is you'd have your first encounter here, and you need to go that way, but in order to go that way, you got to do a simple loop of getting up there, however you can or however you like, and then figuring out a way to open up a gate that's going to be there. Also having this path over here to where there's going to be some kind of like internal cave where you can go up there and find a collectible or a weapon. So with this being basic layout, I feel like this is safe to show. Like, again, it's not really spoiling anything. It's not too much. But it's giving an idea of the kind of concepts I'm bringing into the level design and how much I want this to feel like the player has options and feel like they can move around freely and really choose where they want to go. Ooh, let me get up here. I feel like there'd be a building up here in this space. There'd be buildings down there, like ancient ruins and stuff like that. This over here, whoa. Player would be able to do a jump like that and climb up these vines here. And then there'd be this whole explorable place up here. And then I also still want this to be like a hole in the center, so you can't like glitch to get into the collectible spot, but you can still get close and like look down and see like the giant like hole that is down there. Oh boy. Woo! Almost fell in. Again, this is basically out. So, but yeah, I'm really liking how this is coming out. The final part of this I'll probably be done in the demo is once you open up the gate, we'll be getting over to this area. So this is gonna be another like cave tunnel here. It might have some like bugs you have to shoot around in here until you get out here to more ruins. There's gonna be more ruins up here. And then you're eventually going to see a temple that's like embedded into a cliff wall over there. That's pretty much going to be the second half of the level. I don't know if that's going to be playable in the demo because that's going to be a lot more modeling and a lot more layout that I need to get done in the short time span I'm planning on having this demo get out. But yeah, so that's the main idea. You have all this area to explore and yada yada. Yeah. So at the end of the day, also, I still need to implement fall damage. I haven't implemented any damage in general. I'm probably going to be implementing stamina as well for controlling climb jumps and maybe the duration of sprinting. I don't know. I also like sprinting a lot, so maybe it'll just be for things like jumping and climb jumps. That's something I'll have to play around with. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the updates that we've seen in the game so far. Adding in a lot of these assets down here, making this level design, getting the level layout to feel, more progressed and feel good. Adding in elements like these climbable vines, playing around with textures, getting all this stuff set up, and also setting up the main menu and making sure that the menus there are functional and able to, be cohesive enough for the player to know what they're doing. So that's pretty much going to be it for this devlog. Next one's going to be in January. Thank you guys for watching. Again, if you guys like what you're seeing and want to support, leave a like or subscribe. Anything helps. Also, leave feedback down below. All feedback is important and will help with the progress of the game. Hope you guys have a good day, a good night, whatever it is. I hope it's going good. Peace out.